Welcome back, everybody, to Unconditional Surrender, the Me, Myself, and I playthrough of the main event scenario. Games published by GMT Games, designed by Salvatore Vasta. We're about ready to enter into the Western operations phase of March 1943. The weather, amazingly enough, cleared out in both the mild and warm zones. So the West has many options here, and this is going to be a prime example of combined arms and using the sortie system and all of those kinds of things in order to guarantee some invasions into Sicily. So the first thing that the British are going to do is let's send second RAF. Second RAF is going to fly into Malta and take a sortie to do that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I can't get to there. Now the second RAF with its one sortie, if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, can actually get to the Italian Second Fleet. So they're going to fly combat mission against that. That means that they start off, because they're British, they're +1, and they get +1 because they're an airplane against a fleet. Oh, excuse me. So, and then they're -1 for their sortie. The Italians are -2 for their sorties. So it's a +1 to a -2. The British roll a 3 + 1 is a 4. The Italians roll a 3 -2 is a 1. So that means the British take a sortie and the Italians take 2. What's most important here is that the Italian Navy needs to be at -4. If it has 4 sorties on it, wherever it intercepts, the best it can roll is a 2, which means best it can get is a diamond, which means the invasions will go off despite any Italian attempt at intervention. So we're going to stop there with that particular airplane. Next thing we're going to do is go to the faction card, and we're going to go ahead and pull the British surprise attack marker, and we're going to forego any invasions in the West, in France. We're going to try and make sure we take out Sicily in the most efficient manner. So they're going to play their surprise attack marker here in, technically I guess I'm supposed to place it in a hex, but I always throw it in the C zone to make sure that you know that it's affecting the C zone, not ground combats. So we're throwing it in C zone 22. Then we're going to spend some production points. We're going to spend 2 points to activate the British 8th Army right there. It is going to call for an invasion, and it's going to go with the 4th Convoy and Force H. Force H is going to be escorting it. Again, excuse me. So this whole shebang has been activated and says it's going to C Zone 22. Now the Italians could invade or could intercept with either one of their fleets, but at -4, if you look at the combat results table, -4 means the best they can get is a 2 as the attacker. The British Force H would be +2 because it's British, +2 because it's an aircraft carrier and fair. -4 for its sorties would put it at 0. Then it would be a +1 as well, because it is a going in a surprise attack marker C zone. So it means the worst that they can roll is a 2. Okay, and the attacker, the best they can get is a 2. That means it's a diamond, which means it will not stop the invasion. So the Italians could do it just to throw a sortie on them, which is what they're going to do. Mostly because then they'll be up to 6 sorties. But they won't be able to really intervene in supply of that hex either. But just for form's sake, the Italians have to try, right? So they start off at -4. And as I described for the British, they start off at +2 for British, +2 for aircraft carrier and fair, +1 because they're in a C zone with a surprise attack marker, and then they're -4 for their sorties. So the Italians roll a 6 -4 is a 2. The British roll a 3 + 1 is a 4. And if you go to the combat results table, a 2 to a 4 means the Italians took 2 sorties. So, ping ping. And Force H took a sortie. And then the attack hex is going to be, the landing hex is going to be 4627. And you might go, huh? What? Why aren't you attacking the city? Well, the minuses are going to be the same whether I attack into the city or not. But by landing here, I have isolated the 4th Infantry. And if you count the Italian aircraft, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is not within range of Catena. The reason why it's not is if it had been down one more hex where it could get in range, like in 4129, then the airplane in Malta could also basically negate it. So either way, the airplane couldn't really help in Catena. The airplane still can possibly help in Palermo. Except that when this all gets done, you'll see that, no, it can't. But we'll get there in a second. So the British 8th Army actually lands in the rough terrain here and then declares an assault on Catania. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. They do have, Force H has less than 6 sorties, so it will add +2. So if we just start off here, the British start off +1 because they're British, +2 because they're armor, +2 for the naval support, and then they will go ahead and throw in the 2nd RAF. Can't be intercepted, so I'm just going to add a sortie to it now. And that's a +2 for the RAF. Now they're going to be -1 because they're attacking an enemy, and -1 because they're attacking a city, but they are also +2 for this unit being isolated. So they get +2 for isolation, then -1 for city, -1 for attacking a unit. And we can go to, and the Italians are starting off at -2. The best the Italians can do is throw in their tank marker to get them to a 0. Okay? Knowing that, the British, looking on their faction card, can throw in a free forces unit. They throw in free forces. They would end up at +8. If you look on the combat results table, a +8 means even if I roll a 1, I will get a 9. The best the Italians can do with their armor is get themselves up to a 6. A 6 to a 9 is a DR, which will eliminate the unit. So I have guaranteed that I will take this hex, no matter what. And that is an example of the power of the Western Allies when they're doing an invasion. If they can contain any kind of interception and are attacking less than prime unit, they can do things like this and get off a perfect invasion, so to speak. So we went to commitment. The Italians, knowing that the British can do this, the tanks marker would be wasted here. It might be able to save the garrison in Palermo. So they're not going to play it. The British would have thrown the free forces. Italians do the calculation that I just did and say the armor doesn't actually help. It's, either way, I'm going to lose the hex and the unit. So save it for possibly use with the second garrison unit. So officially, the British will roll at +8 to -2. 3 + 8 is 11. Do I even have to roll? The best the Italians can get is a 4, which is a DD result. So pull up the faction card, put the Catena in the eliminated box. The British advance after combat. Place a control marker. And I did place a control marker, didn't I? Yes, it did. And then on the national tracks, the Italian will goes down by 2. And then all of this stuff here will end up in Catania. I'm going to put them adjacent so I can keep track of the sorties easier. Force H does not take a sortie because it fought a combat, but the convoy does. And then I have to roll for the free forces. Turn track's coming up in a odd place. I think I rolled a 5. Is that correct? Yes, I rolled a 5. Yuck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I seem to be stuck on rolling 5s whenever I use some kind of an event marker. So the British have basically landed. Now the next thing I was thinking of doing is going ahead and using the Americans to do another landing, but the Italian aircraft could actually be used here. So I'm going to move the first RAF into Catania and take a sortie. And then it's going to attack the Italian aircraft because now it's within range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Italian aircraft will go up to 6, and I will go up by 1 because I can't do any more damage to him, and he can't hurt me more than one sortie. So, and then the final thing I'm going to do so that I don't have to worry about supply with this second RAF is he's going to move to 4723 and take another sortie. And what that does is I don't have to worry about supplying out of Malta. I can supply down the rail line to the Middle East. And obviously the guys in Sicily are going to be supplied by this convoy that's here with this thing. So the next play is you have to go back to your faction card, and the Americans are going to go ahead and play their surprise attack marker. And they're going to place it in C-Zone 19. And then they will activate the task force, and it will come with the fleet and the convoy. And they move into 19 again. The Italians, there's no point to this. The Americans, the best I would do is give him one sortie, and he clears them basically for free. And it's likely I would end up with 2 sorties. So I'm going to make him expend it in a different way. So the American task force is going to say it's attacking the second. And this is a little different here. The Italians do start off at -2. The Americans start off a little bit different. They only start off at +1 and then +2 for the fleet support. So they're starting at +3. Now, they do have an airplane, they do have a tanks, and there is an ultra marker that we can use as well. So we're going to go to combat commitment. Everybody commits. The Americans throw in their tanks marker so that they get +2. And the Italians throw in theirs. Why did I even take that down? That's dumb. Okay, the Italians add their 2. Let's put it over on this side. So the Italians get +2 for a tank. And the Americans get +2 for a tank. And the Americans are going to have to subtract 2. Or no, actually, the Americans... The Americans can do the same thing by landing here. I take that back. The American surprise attack marker also goes into this C-Zone. This fleet and stuff move out here. Now the Italians could run up my sorties. They could maybe give me 2 sorties on the American fleet. I don't think it matters. Again, I think I'd rather have the ability to... Oh, no, I can't do that because I have to be in the C-Zone. I have to go from here. Because Palermo is not on C-Zone 22. So I can't invade from this 846-26. If I invaded from there, I wouldn't be able to put my fleets into that port because they wouldn't have moved from that C-Zone. And I would have to run another sortie to put them in. So I just go straight in from here. So what I'm doing is correct. So now we're +2/+2. The Americans will go ahead and throw in their aircraft. The Italian aircraft was neutralized, so I don't have to worry about them intercepting me. So I get another +2 from the aircraft. So now if I had took off 2, I'd be +5 to 0. On the combat results table, +5, I could end up with like a 6 or a 7. If I end up with +6, the worst I can get is a 7, and I have a good chance of getting like an 8 or a 9, which kind of guarantees that I get the hex. So I'm going to go ahead and play the ultra marker as well to try and give me an extra plus. So that gives me up to +8, and then I'm -1 for the city and -1 for the unit. that I'm attacking in an assault, in an amphibious assault. So the Americans have a +6 and the Italians have a 0. The Americans roll a 6. +6 is a 12. 12, even if he rolls an 8, he'll be retreated. So it's a matter if he rolls low enough that I actually can eliminate him. So the Italians roll a 6. +2 is an 8. I don't think that eliminates him. 12 to an 8 is a DR, so he only retreats. So he retreats 1 hex. And then the Americans obviously get placed in the hex, and they place a control marker. And the Italian national will goes down another 2. So they've only got 2 will points left. Also, in taking that hex, the fleets are required to retreat, go somewhere else. The fleet will go to Naples. Go to Naples? No, it will go. It'll go to Genoa along with the convoy. Not the infantry unit, dummy. And this one gets an extra sortie. And it moves up here as well. Okay. So there is the invasion of Sicily. And of course the American fleet and convoy will come in here as well. And then the Americans will also fly their airplane into... Do they need to fly their airplane at this point? Yeah. What the heck, we'll fly the airplane in here. That helps protect any silliness from the Italian. If the Italians try to use their airplane to come and interdict my fleets or something, I have airplanes to just shoot them down. So that is the big nasty stuff. Didn't start my timer again. So I added a bunch of time and went ahead and started it. I will check when I'm done with the West to see how far I've actually gone. As far as other shenanigans go, I could try at -3 to +1 to get off a bombing run here at Dusseldorf. Actually, we'll go to Metz this time, just to be different. So the Germans are at +1, because it's fair weather. They're +2 for German, -1 for sorties. The British start off at +1 for British, -2 for a bomber, and -2 for their sorties. And just see if we can get lucky. The Germans roll 6 + 1 is a 7. No. The British roll a 6 - 3 is a 3. A 7 to a 3 is 2. It's just a matter of whether I would take 3 or 2. So I took 2 sorties, and we'll stop there. I'm not going to get through. The Germans took 1. I was hoping to get through, because then I could go a second time and then have them be at 3 sorties instead of at 2 sorties. So that was not productive for the British. At this point, let's see, the Americans are going to be supplied from the convoy in Palermo. So I have a fleet and a convoy here that I can use that convoy to help supply some British units, which will help me clear up some British convoys down here. Okay. I'm just kind of looking ahead to see what I have to worry about. At this point, I think I am done with the British. Just have to do my supply. No, I'll wait. I'll wait. So the American convoy is going to supply 2 British units, the BEF and the 2nd RAF. Okay. Oh, I suppose I should put things back on the turn track, shouldn't I? Ultra, we have to roll for. I rolled a 2, so it comes back in 2 turns. What do you know? I didn't roll a 5. The tanks markers come on next turn immediately. The Italian Navy cannot interfere with this supply here, so this will go up by 2, and will supply. It will supply the 2 British units. The Americans, well, technically he can try to intervene if he really wants to. I would be -2, he would be -5. You know, I'm about ready to just... I will escort the first one, which is the task force. And the Italians say, no, that's okay. And the reason why these surprise attack markers are out here is because I get a +1 out of those things against the Italians, even in the supply phase, because they stay till the end of the operations phase. So, and then I'll do it again. I'll escort, so it guarantees that I get my supply through. And that's for the airplane. And I did these. So I did not have to do any supply out of here with the British. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and supply each of these units here. Just take those off. This guy's actually in Tobruk. I don't know why I have one outside Tobruk. And take this one off. I may be using those again real soon, but I want them available. So I'm not going to delete them. Actually, you know, I can delete them too. Clean up my board so it doesn't look so junky. Yeah, that's supply. Should be able to clear up a lot of things with the British. Yeah, that's it, kids. That is supply. All the things are in supply. They didn't bother to well, they could interdict my fleet to give me up to 4 sorties on my fleet. Yeah, I think I would do that. And then they get supplied the second. Okay. That's just the fleet goes out to be supplied. The Italian fleet intercepts. It's not worth it. What am I doing? I can't do anything to you until I get down to much lower sorties. So that was a pointless thing to do. Not going to do that. Okay. Yeah, that's it. That's the Western Allied phase. Before I go into the Soviets, I'm going to take a quick pause here, see how long it's taken me to do this. That is a classical invasion force projection of the Western Allies. Against the Italians, it's much easier. Against the Germans, you're probably going to face some like real infantry. It's not going to have that extra -2. So it's going to be a little bit closer run deal. But you're also probably going to have 3 surprise attack markers when you go after the Germans. So you can actually use 2 for invasion and drop 1 in there for give you an extra +1 in your 2 invasion hexes and all sorts of things, which you'll see when I decide to go after France. Just have to see when I'm going to go after France. So the other thing we need to do is on the faction card, we need to put back the surprise attack markers because the operations phase is over. And those go into our attacker, into our holding box. And in the mobilization phase, we can choose whether we're going to rebuild those or not. Americans will automatically do it. It's whether the British will spend points to replenish everything or if they'll go light on their replenishment and go after the surprise attack market right away. That's a decision I have to make at that time. Okay, so I've cleaned up the operations phase. I'm pretty sure I'm done with the Western operations. I'm going to take a pause here and see how long it's taken me to get this far. It's to pull off that Western Allied turn. It takes a little longer because I'm explaining what I'm doing. When you're in a real game, you can get it done in a lot less time. If you don't have to explain everything unless your opponent is asking you questions. So this is the end of the Western Allied March 1943 turn. This is Unconditional Surrender, me, myself, and I playthrough of the main event scenario. I'm Dren608. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the videos so you don't miss any future episodes. You can also go back and look at all the previous episodes on my YouTube channel, and they're also posted at Board Game Geek. And I will be back with the Soviet and end of turn phases of March 1943. I don't know if I'm going to have the same kind of convolutions in Russia. I'm going to have to go take a look. So, see you in a little bit. Bye-bye.